covering for K&K Indie Games, Nobody Saves the World. Kyle, you hit me up. You found this game. How did you hear about it? How did you find out about it real quick?
I believe after we had went through our text messages and we're trying to figure out what we were going to do here, I went and looked up, well, what's the new games out right now that people may not have heard of? What are the indie games that, are trying to get out there? And I saw Nobody Saves the World. It had released a little earlier this year, but it was made by DrinkBox Studios, same people made Guacamelee, and I knew immediately that had to have been something definitely worth checking out. Definitely.
Absolutely. And the description reads, really quick, transform from a featureless nobody. And by the way, they literally mean that, into a slug, a wrestler, and a dragon in this new take on action RPGs from the creator of Guacamelee. Discover 15 distinct forms, mix and match their abilities, clear evolving dungeons, and save the world. This game is available on all platforms, so you literally have zero excuse to miss out on it. And even better, if you have Xbox Game Pass, it's on Game Pass, so you can download it. You can stream it through cloud gaming. It's there, so you have zero excuse. If you're listening, zero excuse to not at least check it out.
Yeah. As soon as I found I was on Game Pass, I was like, oh, this is worth getting. Although I personally, I played it on Switch. I don't know what you played it on, but...
I played it on both just so I could get the feel of it, but most of my time was spent on Xbox.
Okay.
So what did you think of it, getting into it?
Yeah, I from the beginning, starting out in it, I loved it, and I believe that my love for the game carried through throughout my playing through it. It was... you could kind of get an idea of what you were getting into when you watched the original trailer, when you read the description. But the hold on, my kid just fell.
I heard that. Yeah.
Did you hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. But playing through it, it was a lot more fun than what I expected. I definitely got old school Zelda vibes through it, just through the action and the fighting through it and the puzzle solving in it. I don't know if you had got the same thing. On top of that, I was afraid that there would be a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Not replayability. Help me out here. When something just repeats itself over and over.
I know it's not monotony you're talking about, but I know what you're talking about.
I was afraid it was repetitive.
Yeah, that's it.
Yes, I thought there was going to be a lot of repetition throughout the game. There wasn't. And the way that they handled that, where it could have been a lot of repetition, was avoided because of the way that you could, as the description says, you could discover different forms. And because you could discover different forms, you had different abilities, and you could mix and match the abilities, which I thought really kept the game alive and made it very enjoyable and kept the fun factor up in it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Because it is from the makers of Guacamelee, I wasn't too concerned about like the storyline or the humor, because I know the writing was going to be there. But it going from like an action platformer to an RPG, that I was wondering how that was going to work out for them, and they nailed it on the head. And when you said Zelda vibes, I was like, yes, that's what I was thinking of, because I couldn't think of it, because the way Zelda does things, you get powers or abilities or gadgets or whatever, and it opens up the world more. The puzzles get slightly harder each time, and you're able to revisit certain areas and get to areas you weren't able to before. And that's how this game is essentially set up. But I wouldn't say it's like, oh, this is like Zelda, because it's not. But it's just that kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Progression.
Right.
It's very similar, because there's one part, it's pretty early on. You can turn into a mouse, and you can get into all kinds of different things. And then I noticed a nest somewhere. I'm like, what's this nest for? And it took a while, but then I unlocked an egg form. And that's how you unlock the dragon.
You got that right from the mouse?
Yeah, it took a while.
Okay.
It took a while.
Okay.
to get the egg, though. The egg is, and then the egg itself, it takes a long time to get the dragon. So trust me, it's the dragons. It takes a lot to get there. But anyway, it's all set up very fine. I will say, I did think the game was really easy up until you started being able to mix and match the form's abilities, and then the difficulty skyrocketed. Like, that's when I started dying and having to actually strategize and plan on what I was going to do and how to take on enemies and such. And that was brilliant, I think, because having it start out hard right away, as someone who has recently delved into something like Elden Ring, I was not ready to get my butt whooped every 2 seconds.
Yeah, and going back to the whole, I don't think it's spoiler territory. The mouse is the first form that you get,
and you get it within the first literal 5 minutes of starting up the game.
Yeah, and the game is an action RPG, and I feel like with most action RPGs, your first encounters are with mice and rats. Mm-hmm. And with this game, your first encounter is as a mouse and as a rat. It's not like a huge detail, but whenever it happened, I thought, man, that's kind of funny because, you're usually fighting or you're fighting slime or something.
Right, right.
It was funny how they turned you into the mouse to attack the enemy. Which along the lines with that, I feel like the writing in the game, hysterical.
Yes.
All of it's funny. Everybody is kind of like, I don't know if ditzy is a good word, but just kind of like goofy. And I got Monty Python vibes from it.
Yes.
Just kind of funny writing. Yeah, very much so. And a lot of the quests are funny, and I really appreciated that. And it kept the story going, kept the game going. It made me want to do side quests that I didn't really wouldn't have found interest in, but because of the writing and the reasoning for the side quests, it pushed me into doing them and wanting to complete them.
Yeah, the humor is very witty, but it's also pretty dry, which I think is hilarious. Because slight small spoiler, like there's this one side quest where you're part of the Thieves Guild, and then you have to plan a heist, and the guy goes, yeah, all you gotta do is just change forms and get this item from the shopkeeper. He's like, why is this like sneaky or conniving or heist? Because it's cheap as long as you're a human or something like that. So you can resell it for a higher price or something. So you just go into the store and change your form each time and do it like 4 times. And then you complete the quest. And I think it was hilarious, just the way it was set up. Like, I'm not doing that side quest justice on how entertaining it was.
Right.
But
I feel like a lot of the side quests were through the game.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah. Like if I were to just sit here and describe like all the humor is in the game, me describing it doesn't do it justice at all, because the dialogue takes care of all of that and it does a wonderful job.
Yeah, for sure. And the game itself, as far as keeping you interested in it, they could have just kept it to where each form had their own abilities. But no, once you mentioned, they mix and match the abilities further on into the game, it really opens up to a whole new way that you can play the game, whole new way of making the character that you love to play as a little different and either more challenging or easier depending on what you're dealing with. I had a favorite form. I don't know if you did, if it was something that you would like to. Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so I didn't realize. Okay, so at first it was the knight. I thought the knight was pretty OP. I'm like, oh man, the knight's really OP when I unlocked him. And then it got to one point where I just couldn't like move forward. I had to actually start changing forms again and all that stuff. And then I found the bodybuilder. Dude, he wrecks face. I love him.
Yeah. Both those characters are incredible. And yeah, I mean the knight felt OP from the beginning. The bodybuilder is such a great character. For me, I don't know if it's an oddball, but the slug.
I noticed when you were streaming, you were playing as the slug. I'm like,
the slug, just the fact that his ability to slow down enemies, especially when you have big groups of enemies, you can slow down the whole enemy and pelt them with your tears. He shoots his tears at them. I love that. And I thought it was it's so weird. You're shooting tears and killing enemies with it, but it's so funny. And that's just, that just goes to tell you that the game itself is it's just goofy. It's fun. And it's very enjoyable. And I think for the price itself, I believe I paid $24.99 for it on Switch.
That sounds about right.
And it's about, I think if you were to complete it within a quick time, it would be 14 hours. Like that's a reasonable price.
I was gonna say between 14 and 20
price.
hours, easy. Yeah. And two, it's funny because like some of the designs on the forum, some of them are really cute and adorable, you know, and then the others, like the mermaid, is terrifying.
Oh, creepy!
It is so creepy.
That's like Ariel gone wrong.
Yeah, exactly. So that when I changed to that form, I was shocked. Like it didn't scare me or anything. Like, oh my gosh, I'd never want to be the mermaid because she has some great abilities. But I was kind of shocked. Like, oh my gosh, like that's legitimately terrifying compared to all the other designs.
No. Definitely not. Yeah. But yeah, I think I definitely got Zelda vibes from the game, like a Zelda 4.0 or something. Like, you know, that there's a lot of progression in the game, a lot of abilities and stuff that I absolutely loved in the game. And I personally, I would recommend it to a friend to play if they wanted to try something new, something that I was not overwhelming, because the game to me is not, it's not an overwhelming game. It is a longer game, I believe,
especially for an indie game.
Yeah, for an indie game, but something that you can feel good playing and get your money's worth out of as well.
And two, what's nice, I mean, I'm not so busy right now, but there were a couple days where I'm like, I was busy, but you can pick it up for 5 minutes if you want to, and still feel like you did something, or you know, you can play for 5 hours and obviously get that same effect.
Yeah, I found myself doing that. It's either, hopefully it doesn't come across as offensive or something to DrinkBox Studios, but it's one of those games where if you want to sit on the toilet and play for 5 minutes, you can. But at night, also before bed, I was finding myself playing it for, you know, at least an hour, trying to progress through it. And I loved it. It's a good game.
Absolutely. I think now we can get to the point where we can score it. You know, personally, I give it probably a solid 8 out of 10. The writing's good. The art is fantastic, and the forms are all entertaining. I love them all. I never felt like there was a weak form in the mix. Sorry. I never felt like there was a weak form in the mix that you filmed. I felt like each one had its own love that was catered to it by the developers. I thought the music was really great, especially having like a 16-bit type of sound to it. They were pretty catchy. It is a little bit on the harder side, so if you're looking for a challenge, this is definitely for you. If you're looking to get through something in just a few hours, this probably isn't for you, but that's not a negative for me, but I'm just letting people know. Yeah.
I was thinking about 8 to an 8.5 for the game. It delivers. It's reasonably priced, and the artwork in it is really good. It's beautiful. It's vibrant, full of color, and although the humor is dry and sarcasm is definitely in it, I appreciate that in the game. There's not really a dull moment in this game, and I think I'll go with you, an 8. An 8 is definitely a good number for this game, and I highly recommend it. It's a good game, and it can be picked up on all platforms, even last generation platforms. It's on the Series X, it's on the Xbox One and PS4.
There you have it. No excuse to, at the very least, not check it out, especially have Game Pass. At the very least, if you have Game Pass, I would at least download it and see what you think for a few minutes.
Oh, it's got online co-op too, which we did not try. We should have definitely tried that, but that is there. So if you have a friend you want to play with, that is available.
Some caveats with online co-op that I did find out, though: it is not cross-platform. However, if you have a PS4 and someone's on PS5, that works. Or if you're someone on Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and PC.
Cross-generational.
Yeah, it's cross-generational, but it's not like cross-platform.
Okay.
I like that. Very cross-generational. Cool. I like that.
Yeah. You're welcome.